Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to go truck and tractor pulling here with the Summit Racing Equipment Elkhart County 4-H Fair Pull presented by Fleece Performance Products. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ken Stout. Leslie Mears sitting right alongside. Looking forward to this one. We're going to feature three different categories here today, and we'll kick it all off with the mini rods. It is Dylan Bunnage. Right off the bat to get things started here. Course is green. Well, let's go. Let's make some noise. Wow, and a wild ride right off the bat for Dylan. Front end up and down a number of times, a distance of 277 and 42, but he is a test puller. My guess is they'll want to drop that one and get a little better setup on it and come back.
Well, let's take a look at the running order here presented by Champion Seed, and it looks like he is going to drop that hook. So Jeff Hurt will be the first official hook of the class with the Little Bear, and that's his second tractor in the category. Remember, he's the reigning champ here. Lots of players in this category and lots of teams out here. You're going to want to look for the Slaws. Logan Stevens has 2 entries this year. And we see Dylan Bunnage, the last one in the category there, and really excited this year to see some of the guys that are chasing points on this Champions Tour with this mini rod category.
Fresh off a win at Henry. And that sled, no doubt, is heavy out here today. 281 and 48 is the mark.
And that could be a great indication of that heaviness that you mentioned, Ken, because, you know, Jeff Hurt has been on fire this season. Now, the Little Bear has been a little bit farther behind the B Bear, but he really has these minis figured out. And you can see he is moving a ton of dirt out there on the track. And that's what you get when you've got afternoon pulling and lots of water down deep underneath. And I know that they're running sprinklers on the graders as well to try to keep that moisture in. And so there's going to have to be some adjustments back there in the staging lanes if they're going to drag that heavy boat out.
That will bring up our next puller here, and that's going to be Bruce Slaw and the Show No Mercy. The Show No Mercy, driven by Bruce Slaw, finished up third in the points 1 year ago. 3 podiums, including a win. And he chugs it down through there as well, really churning up some dirt like you were just speaking of before there, Leslie. 320.09. Now there's a number.
That's insane. I mean, he puts 40 feet on Jeff Hurt, who has had that Little Bear dialed in the top 5 in those first 2 hooks of the season. But I think it's really all about that hole shot out there. He gets a nice hole shot. He goes straight the entire way down the track. And that's what you're really looking for. We saw a nice even hook as well. We didn't see a lot of that up and down on the front end like we saw from Dylan Bunnage as our test puller. It's slight, but it's not violent out there. And then as that front end comes down, that box tops off on the sled, it really evens out and just glides out there another 20 to 25 feet.
So he disconnects from the sled there as we continue on. Really good looking hook there. For sure, that'll be the new number to beat as they groom the track here. And we'll bring our next puller out here. It's going to be Todd Boltman with the stress relief. This class has really grown in numbers as of the past couple of years and become very difficult to win in. Comes in here 5th in the points after the first couple of hooks of the season. They have a busy season, by the way. 302.01, well short of Bruce Slaw's effort, but good enough to jump up into second.
Yeah, and Boltman falls victim to getting over to that left-hand side of the track. He started out in just about the same tracks that we saw from Bruce, but look at that huge amount of right brake right there. And that really puts the nail in the end of his pull and kind of says, yep, you're done right here when he starts stabbing that brake.
So we're off and running here at Elkhart County 4-H Pull. Stay with us. We'll be back with more. This telecast is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products, Advanced Yield, and by ARP. We welcome you back to the Summit Racing Elkhart County 4-H Fair and Pull, presented by Fleece Performance Products. We're in Goshen, Indiana. The mini rods are putting on a show for the fans. Up next is going to be Logan Stevens, the Kansas Twister. Very fitting name, coming out of Kansas, of course.
And a bold move, parking it up there on that right-hand sideline where we haven't seen anybody go yet.
Wow, I'm churning a lot of dirt. Unfortunately, that front end up and down a number of times, and it just was really not happy. Consequently, the distance well short of 252 and 89.
And this is a note from years past at Goshen, and I know these guys haven't been here, but they've watched a lot of footage, is that you start up there on that high right-hand sideline, and there's two options. You can either keep it tight to that right-hand sideline and cruise down through the top along that edge of the track. Remember, this is a horse racing track, and so it's got a little bit of a lean to it. Or you can slingshot it towards the left-hand corner. It looked like he was trying to keep it up on the high side, but it kept fighting him towards the low side. And when you're doing that, that's just counterproductive to your hook. But a bold move here. He saw what was going on the left and thought, hey, I'm going to give it a go here on the right with my first tractor. I know I've got a second one to rely on later that I can do something different.
And Kevin Dick out here putting us to the test as broadcasters in the booth with the name of that tractor. He's out of Ohio. It's called the Cat's Sass. I'll be careful with that one, but he does a nice job here, 291 and 66.
And it does get a little sassy. You see that huge arc towards the right-hand sideline and then bring it back to the middle. Those Grouser bars digging in hard for him out there. And his distance will fall a little bit short out there as everybody is trying to search for what Bruce Slaw found with that third hook of the class.
Here comes the tractor called North American Trailer. It is driven by Jordan Nelson. A year ago, Brett Berg was also on this. Wow, and the throttle clearly stuck on that one. That was a little sketchy there right at the very end. That thing under full stress load and throttle still wide open. Distance 296 and 55.
You can see the butterflies on that injector hat opening up nicely. He's finally got it at full song there. And so coming to the top end, really trying to edge out a few more inches out there. And you can see him kind of, put his right hand up in the air like pull it, pull it, pull it. And that's to get Logan Thomas's attention back there in the sled to go ahead and pull that safety switch. And that's exactly what happened out there. He saw his hand go up. He realized the rev of the engine, that was stuck for just a second. All the safety equipment worked exactly as it was supposed to out there as he pulled that and shut it off.
Up next will be Tyler Slaw. Behind the wheel of the Have No Mercy, finished up second in the points. 1 year ago, missed the championship by just 8 points. And Leslie had a chance to speak with him earlier.
So we see a lot of different driving styles in the mini rod class. And Tyler, that's something you said you've tried to experiment with this year. And so kind of take us through the different styles and how they've worked and maybe not worked for you.
Well, at the first event for our points series, I tried driving super aggressive like I see work for a lot of these people, but I think at the end of the day, I'm carrying a little bit too much weight right here to try that. Didn't work out too well for me. At our second event, I went back to more slow, smooth, and consistent, and landed me a third instead of a 21st or something like that. So maybe we'll stick with that technique.
Like you said, it's always about, trying to move up and get yourself better placement. So what else are we doing here to try to put ourselves on top of the pile?
We're going to try to just be consistent, not hero or zero. We don't need to get first, but we'd rather not get last. Maybe some seconds, thirds. We'll even take some top fives in this field.
Oh man, one wheel's right away.
Yeah, talk about not being happy. The front end up and down, one wheeling, as Leslie just referred to. They just missed the setup here a bit on this one, and this track seems to be throwing these guys a bit of a curveball for sure. Distance 282 and 69.
Yeah, split the tracks. The last competitor thought he'd arch it out there like what we saw from Kevin Dick, but unfortunately, that starting line maybe getting a little bit chewed up, and so once he left, not as smooth as he needed to. And so those rear tires, which the ply on those is very, very soft, and that's why you see them squat down on the starting line and then grow as the revolutions increase as they go down the track. And so just finding a little bit of inconsistency in the dirt out there, and then side to side he went all the way down.
All right, Jeff Hurt with the B-Bear. He is our current points leader, and that was certainly kind of strange. You can see the rear tires start to spin, and then it seemed like he tried it again, but was not happy with it. So he's going to give them a mechanical, or take advantage of a mechanical drop and see if he can get whatever it is broke fixed. We'll be right back. And once again, we welcome you back to the Summit Racing Elkhart County 4-H Fair and Tractor Pull presented by Fleece Performance Products. Covering the mini rods out here, we just had Jeff Hurt back up to the sled with the B-Bear. Unfortunately, he had a mechanical issue, had to take advantage of a mechanical drop, has disconnected, and trying to fix that tractor. In the meantime, we will continue on here. This is Scott Van Antwerp with the Playing Dirty. Well, and unfortunately, the distance is not going to reflect this, but that was a great-looking hook. Obviously, pulled off to the left there just a little bit, but it set the nose and just hung it right there. I thought we were going to get a pretty good number, but he lays up a bit short at 290 and 28.
It's interesting the way that we've been seeing these tractors kind of sashay, right there it was, off the starting line. And so that means that those tires are spinning so fast on the starting line that they've got to blow back a bunch of dirt before they can get to something that's a little bit grippy. So very similar to drag racing here, blowing off the tires right on the starting line. And that's going to impact, your hook with your hole shot. But the bad thing is, for our mini rod pullers, they can't really lay into it softly. They've really got to get those RPMs up fast, get those tires spinning quickly, because they need the ground speed once the sled tops off to keep them going.
Hallie Carrender coming up here next out of Newcastle, Indiana. Northeast side of Indianapolis, if you will. About an hour outside. We're not quite that far. Hurricane Hallie coming at us. And when the hurricane settles down, the distance is 279 and 22.
She was doing an awful lot of wheeling inside the cockpit there as well, trying to keep it on the line that she wanted. And you'll notice that everybody is down on that low left side. Only one puller, and that's Logan Stevens, has been up on that high side up there, just trying to keep it down on his tracks, thinking that they're going to get a little bit more moisture Yeah, I mentioned earlier it's a horse track, and so with that slope on the high side, remember it's going to bring you to the low, but also there should be a little bit more moisture on the left-hand side, and that's what they're trying to bank on here.
Up next is going to be Mike Evans, the tractor called It's No Joke. Comes in here a little bit deeper in the points, did make the first couple of hooks. Twin turbos, as you can see there, pretty cool. And he'll pull the handle back on that one at a distance of 266 and 97.
And he's still really in the learning phases with these turbos. This is a brand new setup for him this season. So for him, it's all about the challenge. He had a great setup, would have been similar to like an LS motor with the turbos on it. And so he had that figured out, winning hooks, doing well on the regional level. And so he said, you know what? It's time that we step up. Now, the problem with that is that nobody else out here runs turbos. And so he's really gathering data himself. He's really inventing the wheel, so to speak, because there's so much more data about automotive reciprocating engines out there. And so he's kind of a loner in the field, and kudos to him. My hat's off to him for giving it a whirl.
Our next competitor hooked up, ready to make some noise. And Jeremy Nelson with a half past midnight turns in a distance of 267 and 94. We're talking about some pretty good pullers out here, ladies and gentlemen, and they are definitely struggling with this track here today.
And it seems like it's thrown them such a curveball, Ken. It's like even the notes that they have from way back when aren't helping them out here. And you can see Jeremy taking a different approach here as well, going from left to right, just trying to get anything a little bit different. And you saw he even moved closer to that left sideline to get a better hole shot as well.
That's all right. We like it when things get mixed up here just a little bit. We'll find out who's going to win this thing when we come back. Stay with us. Once again, we welcome you back to the Summit Racing Elkhart County 4-H Fair and Tractor Pull, presented by Fleece Performance Products. Covering the mini rods out here, a big class now, very deep. Logan Stevens up next with the Wheatland Express. Just missed the podium at our last hook, and Leslie spoke to him.
It's a major commitment to run the Champions Tour, and a new fresh face this year is Logan Stevens. So, Logan, how did you and your dad come to the decision that you were going to run your mini rods this year with the Champions Tour?
So we started out about 2 years ago when we decided that I'm now turning 16 and we need to step up into the big leagues. So we got a hold of Brett Berg and started the whole process with getting the tractor and getting our first year under our belt out there on the Champions Tour.
Yeah, but now we have two, and your dad basically just handed to him, said, hey, they're all yours.
Yep. So it's been a big experience driving both of them, and no two tractors drive the same, so they each have their little quirks. So it is also a lot of experience with driving two that you get to gain a lot quicker.
Yeah, you've had some good hooks this year as well, and so kind of what's your anticipation for Goshen here? You know, it's a track you haven't been on. You have some things you can compare it to, but you also get two chances at it today, and you've got some pretty good draw numbers.
Yeah, we've got some good draw numbers, so we're just going to see how the tractor run. We're still tuning on some chassis work, so we're hoping to leave this event in the same position we came into or better.
Took a little bit, but it finally picked the front end up, planted those rear tires, and given the distances out here today, a pretty solid effort at 297 and 88.
And that's the best distance we've seen in 3 hooks out here. And you saw that he definitely made an adjustment. This Wheatland Express tractor is the one that he's got a little bit farther up in the points. And so moved that kind of down in the groove where everybody else has gone, closer to that left sideline than we've seen yet, and is able to keep it straight for the most part. And so gets a nice hole shot. Great balance. Look at this. It's hard to achieve with only 2,050 pounds total to play with on these tractors. And this team does an excellent job with that balancing and waiting and picking a new spot on the track. And you can see Dad so excited to see his son have success after so many people have fallen back in the pack.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's only 4 tractors yet to go, and he's currently on the podium with that effort. So a really nice looking hook. Dusty Price coming up here next with the Bacon Bits Cruiser. Another puller out of Indiana. Well, and much like Leslie talked about before, you could see him just knock the tires off that thing at the beginning, and it just took forever to get a hold of the track. Just not happening. 290.53 is a respectable number out here today, but not enough to get him up there with the leaders.
Yeah, and that's a detriment to his hook. Probably cost him about 20 feet too. And so if we're looking at where Logan Stevens went, if we look where Bruce Slaw was out there, you know, to set the pace for the group with that early hook, you know, he's out there at 320, but this would have put him on the podium, you know, if that hole shot would have been a little bit more rambunctious. But you know, it's hard out there, and you know, we can be hindsight 2020 in the booth up here looking at these guys and giving them the analysis, but when you're down on the ground, you just got to kind of make those decisions very, very quickly down there. And sometimes you look back and you're like, man, I wish I could have done it different. But at the time, great move there for Dusty as he puts himself up there and inside the top 5 for sure.
Yeah, it seemed like it just never picked the front end up to transfer that weight. Up next is going to be the Buckeye Special with Richard Peters doing the driving. And another one, talented puller here. 296 and 50, good enough to sneak him to the top 5, but misses Jordan Nelson by 0.05. Jordan Nelson 296.55, and Peters at 296 and 50.
And this Buckeye special team has been experimenting with a new set of tires all season long. And so for them, they seem to work well out here on this track. And I know that's been a little bit of a struggle for them to try to find something different that's going to be cutting edge, because the technology is a little bit older with mini rod tires. You know, there hasn't been, you know, kind of a new concept come out in the last couple of years. And so you got to try something different if you want to get an edge over the competition. We've got a handful to go here. Stay tuned. We'll crown our champ in the mini rods next.
We're back here at the Summit Racing Elkhart County 4-H Fair and Pull, presented by Fleece Performance Products. Just 2 tractors yet to go here in the mini rod category. Up next will be Dylan Bunnage. We saw him kick off the category, dropped it as the test puller, and decided to come back a little bit later on in the class, down at the bottom of the class as it were. So we'll see how Dylan Bunnage with the Phoenix does here. Wow, just as violent, maybe even more so. He put 277 up on the board in his first effort, but 142 and 37 here.
And that's interesting, because usually this tractor just takes a set and just lays out a beautiful pass. But for him, unfortunately, you can see the one-wheeling happening early. I wonder if they're not experimenting with something on those tires. Maybe they've got a different cut or a different angle for Goshen, because that's not how this tractor normally reacts out there. So to see it do that is pretty wild.
and one tractor left. It's going to be Jeff Hurt once again, this time with the B-Bear. We saw him use the mechanical drop a little bit earlier. Has whatever it is repaired, he hopes. He's going to throw it down right now. The mark to beat, 320.09. Points leader here. Wow, and that is unbelievable. All those tractors struggled in between the two of Bruce Slaw and Show No Mercy and Jeff Hurt and the B-Bear. It looked as normal as any pull we would go to, but we know the track is not that way. It just smoothly launched, transferred weight to the back tires, picked up the front end, and he nearly stole that win. 3:19 and 16, good enough for second place, but what a great effort at the end of the class.
Just crazy to see him up there in the number 2 spot on our Optima Batteries leaderboard. Todd Boltman will round out the top 3, and then it was the guy with the second official hook of the class that's on the podium.
Well, Bruce, it's been a little bit of a rough season so far this year, but this has got to make up for it here.
Yeah, it's really helped. We've been running on some experimental tires the first couple runs, and went back to the old setup, and I guess I still got it. At least I think I know what I'm doing anyway. But it's nice to have the whole family here and get a win.
Yeah, and it looked like that early number didn't hurt very much either.
No, the early number did not hurt at all. I mean, Jeffrey ran last in the class. He ended up out of it second, so it was kind of still there. But the track definitely didn't get any better out there, so it's better to be a little bit of luck with it, too.
Yeah, it pairs in all that experience that you've had here as well, you know, and we know that your team has picked up wins here in the past at Goshen, so we know you got some good numbers to draw on.
I have never done very good here. The kid here always shows me how to do it, but to be honest with you, I got a set of his old tires on, so maybe that was a ticket.
Total team effort here tonight. Congrats.
Thank you.
So once again, congrats to the Slaw family. A great day out there for them. As we take a look at the points here, it is Jeff Hurt up top of the B-Bear, followed up by Logan Stevens, and then Todd Boltman. Once again, Jeff Hurt with a little bear inside of the top 5 with both tractors. And then to round out the top 5 is Jeremy and Jared Nelson, half past midnight. That'll wrap things up here with the mini rods. We're not done. Don't go away. We still have unlimited super stockers and the hot rod semis. Welcome back to the Summit Racing Elkhart County 4-H Fair and Tractor Pull, presented by Fleece Performance Products. Let's show you the top 3 from day 1 at Goshen. Right off the bat, it was Neil Gettinger with the lessons learned. Back-to-back podiums for him as he kicked off the season with a 3rd-place finish.
And then Jeff Hodum with an awesome run, just barely sliding it down to the finish and keeping it in bounds to finish 2nd.
And then that big V8, wheels up in the air, running bare, driven by Jeff Hurt. Back-to-back wins for him as he's kicked off the season with a win, followed it up here day 1 at Goshen. So we take a look at the points here, 115 points for Jeff Hurt in total. Jeff Hodum and Neil Gettinger, those top 3 finished exactly 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, both hooks. So we'll find out how things shake down here day 2 at Goshen in the unlimited superstock category. It's going to be Brett Backus with the out-of-time tractor, first one to hook up to the sled. We'll see how things go. Slow, methodical approach to that as he was leaving and building some boost, but clearly the weight placement not preferred, as once again we saw that front end up and down, much like we saw a lot of the mini rod tractors earlier, 271 and 87.
And if you thought the mini rods threw a bunch of dirt, wait till you see what these 30.5-inch tires can do. Let's take a look at our running order here presented by Champion Seed. And so Jeff Hurt will be next to see if he can keep perfection at the top of the category, followed by Gettinger, Hall, Hodum, Novinger, and Aaron Hall will round out the category here with the T-Cobb, the taking care of business.
7 tractors, but they are all very tough. And of course, Jeff Hurt, when he puts one together, he is pretty exciting to watch. Look at those rear tires squat down. That's how you get a hold of a track, and consequently, there is the distance as well. He put that V8 to work, 3:23 and 45.
And he really took his time on his whole shot. Look at that. Uses that right brake to bring it back around. That left tire spinning fast and just takes him right up the hill of the track over there. Just an expert move before he really got his ground speed up. That brake doesn't hurt as much closer to the starting line, and that sled is not as heavy out there. So great job driving by Jeff Hurt, and that just shows you what over 25 years of experience on a track can do for you out there when you get in a sticky situation like that.
Yeah, that also means there's some left out there too if he had to get into the brakes. So Aaron Hall coming up here next with the Minneapolis Moline. Well, a nice looking effort right there. The front end way up in the air, maybe a tick too high, but nonetheless 278 and 45.
Yeah, it looks like he's only got about 5 weights hanging on that front clip out there, and he's got room, for at least 5 more out there as well. And so we'll see if other pullers take note of that and make adjustments accordingly.
Here comes the former champ. This is Jeff Hodem with the fully loaded out of Delroy, Ohio. And the BTEC Scales tractor will settle in at a mark of 295 even, good enough to jump up into second place.
And that's surprising, especially noting the hook that he had just one day ago here, and he was able to really leg out that distance. You can see he starts to get close to that sideline, pedals the brake, brings it back around, lets her float. And maybe that was the difference here for him, is just the grouser bars on the sled digging in sideways as he's trying to move it down the track. And that could have been what really shortened up his distance here. As when I spoke to him a day ago, he said he thought he had the tractor figured out and was running better than ever.
And the taking care of business tractor will be coming up here next. Driver out of Waupun, Wisconsin. That is Aaron Hall. Aaron's been on the Champion Tour for a number of years, and Leslie had a chance to speak to him.
Getting the right combination of fuel and air into the motor is a huge thing. And Aaron, you guys switched to a new set of turbos this year. So talk about the system that you put on and how it's currently working with what you have.
Well, it's working very good, but it's leading a lot of chain reactions, breakage, and this and that. We had a couple real nice passes, but for the most part, we've been doing one pass and then working very hard on it. But luckily, yesterday everything behaved, and we're sitting good, and we didn't have the best of run last night, but we're hoping for the best, and I got my good luck charm here, so hopefully tonight we get it done.
So are you getting more air than you were before, and is that kind of causing some problems trying to find the right combination of fuel and air in there?
Yes, we're getting more air, and we're using a little more fuel, and it just causes more breakage down the line that we weren't expecting, but I think we had all them problems solved now, so hopefully we can go through the year and have some fun now.
He finished up third in the points 1 year ago with 4 podiums, including 2 wins. Let's see how things shake out here. And that John Deere goes to work and turns in a distance of 284 and 51. That'll be good enough to jump up into third place as it stands right now.
So it seems like that arc towards the high side of the track is what everyone is leaning on. And I bet it's because these guys are so heavy and they make so much power. So 8,000 pounds, they're probably making about 4,000 horsepower. That's just hard to handle when you get close to those sidelines. And even though they've got those independent rear brakes that we've been talking about using early, once you get to the top end and those tires are turning as fast as they can, you got 4,000 pounds pulling into the dirt out there and that heavy sled slinging behind you, it's gonna be really hard to control. And so I love what these guys are doing. They're saying, hey, I'm just gonna point it to the top side. I'm gonna let her rip. I wanna use all my power and I don't wanna have to worry about the brakes.
Back-to-back podiums to kick off the season here for Neil Gettinger, and lessons learned, final tractor to try and take that win away from Jeff Hurt. Oh man, he just grenaded that one. Not a good ending for Neil Gettinger. The lessons learned machine will lay up at 262 and 14. That will make Jeff Hurt our winner. A three-peat for him to kick off the 2024 season.
So unfortunate for this team. I mean, he had such a fine pass and was really excited about some of the changes that they made after their last hook and what the tractor was doing. It gets a little squirrely on him, and then the detonation. And that's the thing that our Unlimited Super Stockers really struggle with. That's the detonation, getting that right combination of fuel and air into all the chambers to make that good horsepower. And so it'll be back to the drawing board for Neil Gettinger, unfortunately, after day 2 here at Goshen.
So we'll take a look at the final order here, courtesy of Optima Batteries, with Jeff Hurt up top for the third time this year. Jeff Hodem in second for the third time this year. And then Aaron Hall will jump up and take over third place at the third hook of the season. Let's talk to our winner.
The trek proved to be a little bit tricky here this afternoon, Jeff, but you figured it out with that monster pass out there. Do you think that having the minis out there first really kind of gave you a line on what was going on?
I really think it did. I mean, the track was tricky. The start line was really lackluster. I mean, I held the brakes really hard to leave the start line. I rode the brakes. As soon as I let off the brakes, it turned left on me, and I had to get on the right brake real hard, and that tractor's been going right lately, so it was kind of a shock. And when I got on the right brake, it really set in, and motor turned good, run good. Them Hertz turbos made it go. I don't know. That's all we can say. It was an awesome pass.
Yeah, and you put up 2 big wins here, and that just kind of really solidifies your efforts here in the points.
It's a long season yet. It's a hell of a start, but a lot of time to go. A lot of stuff can happen. We're going to keep working at it, and hopefully we can keep making our sponsors proud, because Hertz Diesel sending them big turbos out, and they're working. I got to thank Ferris Commercial Mowers sticking with us, Bill's Implement Sales, them awesome CM tires, Chad Mayhill's cutting for us, getting that thing to the ground even on these bad tracks. Synergy Ag, I mean, sticking with us, helping keep the farm going so we can get enough money to be able to do this. SCS Gearbox, so we can get all that power to the ground.
Total team effort here, and Jeff Hurt takes another one.
Let's take a look at the points here with the Unlimited Superstock Tractor category. Up top is Jeff Hurt with the Runin Bear. Of course, 3 wins out of 4 hooks. One of those hooks was a rainout, followed up by Jeff Hodem and the Fully Loaded and Neil Gettinger to round out the top 3. Plenty of action yet to go, though, in the 2024 season. This run for the championship is far from over. Also, our show is far from over. We still have the Hot Rod Semis. Don't go away. The Pro Pulling League telecast is brought to you by Fleece Performance Engineering, Optima Batteries, the ultimate power source, and by Mack Trailer. Time now to bring you the Mack Trailer Hot Rod Semis. Let's get you up to speed on this one at the Summit Racing Elkhart County 4-H Fair Bowl, presented by Fleece Performance Engineering. After 6 hooks, we've got a tie at the top of the points here. It is a battle between the Class Act and Hillbilly Deluxe. And just one night ago, the battle raged on.
So the Class Act set the bar to beat, and then here comes Spencer Rook storming down the track here in the Hillbilly Deluxe. Now he takes the win on the night, and what that does is that ties the points for him here. As you can see, playing with fire, Ryan DeBro comes out here as well. He was a player, but it was Spencer Rook on top, got ahead of Wood, and so now they are tied coming into today's event, and our points championship will be decided in the next 2 hooks.
Let's take it a step further. If it was a tie and it ended right here, it would go to number of wins. Both Hillbilly Deluxe and Class Act each have 3 wins on the season. So it would go to second place finishes, and that's where Chris Wood and the Class Act would have a small advantage, finishing second 3 times. And the Class Act out of Shreve, Ohio, Chris Wood, the first one to hook up to the sled. The distance here will be 3:03 and 35, a solid effort for sure.
And man, you can tell that he had literally a fire lit in the truck trying to make this happen. And you know, he's a really quiet guy, a little soft-spoken unless you prod him a little bit, but you can tell he's gonna let his pull do the talking out here. Look at the lean on that left front tire up off the ground. Tight columns of smoke coming out of both of those stacks. Great shot of the intake of the turbo right through the grill there. Got it way turned up because he knows, hey, I'm going first. I got to set the bar to beat. And even if I lay down a good path on the track for Spencer, I need to make sure that I dig it in as hard as I can at the top end, so that I left it all out there, so he's not gonna beat me with that second effort here. So he laid down a good one. Let's see what Spencer Rook's got for him.
For the championship, ladies and gentlemen, whoever goes the furthest is gonna be our 2024 champ here in the Hot Rod Semi class. And there it is, man. He builds a ton of boost. He puts on a great effort for sure. But after 7 hooks throughout the entire season, it's going to come down to just 6 feet. And unfortunately, Spencer Rook is going to lay up those 6 feet short. He was definitely a contender here, though, all season long. Both competitors, both teams put on one heck of a show.
So exciting to see second generation puller come out here and to watch his dad, Mark. You can see him on the starting line. They're watching, you know, him go, just setting him up for success on the track and continuing this family tradition out here. Awesome to see what an amazing season the young gun has had to come this close and to bring it down to the wire for the points.
Yeah, I mean, all said and done, how about 7 consecutive podiums, just like our champion? The only difference is the wins, with our champ with 4.
Well, Chris Wood can finally breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief here. How tense was it coming to the line knowing you had to go first with the championship on the line?
Oh, it was a little tense, but you can't let stuff like that bother you in this sport.
So what was the feeling as you had to stand down at the end of the track and watch Spencer come at you there?
I honestly, after I ran, I'm like, man, I don't know what more I could have done. And of course, I was worried. It seemed like he had a bigger head of steam coming down through there than me, but evidently it held up.
It did hold up, and the track was just a little bit tighter out there. You guys had to work a little bit harder for it, but it's got to be gratifying knowing not only do you win, but you also take yet again another points championship.
Yeah, that was the goal for this year again, so the guys are just plumb tickled.
You look a little tickled yourself, and I know it's a pretty big team that helps you get this done.
Oh, yeah. I really got to thank Cyclone Diesel Performance, Jeremy Smith, Levi, of course, this whole crew, Keith, Kevin, Jimmy. Even had our trailer dealer with us here today supporting us, so just a wonderful afternoon.
Awesome stuff, man. It's been a great time out here at Goshen. It always is. And the track was full of surprises here this weekend. A lot of fun covering the mini rods, the unlimited super stockers, and of course the hot rod semis. For Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. Thanks for watching the Pro Pulling League.